Alright guys, good morning. It is Thursday, March 19th, and today we are working on lesson 20. So if you could actually take your black remote learning journals out and copy what I do in my notebook into your notebook for this morning, that would be great. We're also going to need our math modules out, so if you could have that nearby. So lesson 20, I can convert mixed unit measurements. So the difference between this and yesterday is yesterday it was whole number units. Today we're doing mixed unit measurements, which just means that we will have a whole number and a fraction. So it'll be like a mixed number. So rather than converting 4 feet to yards, it might be 4.5 feet to yards. So there's going to be a fraction thrown in there. So please copy down this example. The first one we're going to do is 2 2/3 yards is how many feet? 2 2/3 yards equals how many feet? Same process as yesterday. You're going to ask yourself, are feet bigger or smaller than yards? Feet are smaller, so we're going to need more of them to make up that same distance. So that means we're multiplying. And we're multiplying 2 2/3 times how many feet are in 1 yard? 3. So in every one of these yards, there's going to be 3 feet, and there's 2 2/3. So when it comes to multiplying a mixed number by a whole number, you have to remember what you're saying here is there's 3 groups of this. 3 groups of 2 wholes, 3 groups of 2/3. So you can multiply, you can do 3 groups of that, and then 3 groups of that, and then put it together. So 3 groups of 2 wholes is 6 wholes. 3 groups of 2/3, that would be saying 2/3, 2/3, and 2/3. Right, that's what 3 groups of 2/3 is saying. 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, which is 6/3. We want to put those two together. Now 6/3 is the same as 2 wholes. So now we have 6 wholes and 2 wholes, and all together we have 8. So our answer is 2 2/3 yards is the same as 8 feet. Does it make sense that our answer is a bigger number? Yes, because feet are smaller, we're going to need more. I want to show you another way. This is solving using the distributive property. Another way to solve this is by turning the mixed number into an improper fraction. So you're just multiplying once. So 2 wholes, if we're thinking about thirds, we're going to keep thirds as our denominator because that's the unit that we have. 2 wholes is the same as 6/3. And we're going to remember to keep our 2/3 that we had there. So all together, that's 8/3. So if we multiply that by 3, we know 3 groups of 8/3. It would be 8/3, 8/3, and 8/3. Right? We're doing 8/3 3 times. 8/3, 8/3, and 8/3 is 24/3. Which if we then turn that improper fraction back into a whole number, you'd also get 8 feet. So 2 different ways here to multiply a mixed number times a whole number. You can use a distributive property, multiply your whole by the whole, then the whole by the fraction, and put those pieces together. Or turn your mixed number into an improper fraction and then multiply that by your whole number. All right, let's look at another example here. Let's do 1.5 quarts is how many gallons? How many quarts are in a gallon? That's something you might not be familiar with thanks to the U.S. customary system. But it's 4. That's something you're going to have to know. I don't think that's one of the ones that will be on your conversion sheet. I remember that as there's 4 quarters in $1. There's 4 quarts in a gallon. Okay, so this one you're going to want to pay attention to because it's a little bit different. You're going to be learning something that we haven't talked about in a while. Gallons are bigger, so you're going to need less of them. So you're going to divide. So you're going to be dividing the 1.5 by something. What is the something? How many quarts are in a gallon? The answer is 4. We have not yet learned how to divide fractions and whole numbers yet. But that's okay, because we know we have learned something else that we can use to solve this. Dividing something by 4 is the same as taking 1/4 of it. We've talked about that before. Dividing something by 2, I'm going to just do it over here. This has nothing to do with this problem. Dividing something by 2 is the same as taking half of it. Dividing something by 3 is the same as taking 1/3 of it. So here, we don't know how to divide by 4. We haven't learned that yet. But we do know how to multiply by 1/4, and that's the same thing. Dividing something by 4 is the same as taking 1/4 of it. So we're going to do 1.5 times 4. Now it's the same process as up here. You could do either one of these options. 1/4 times the whole, 1/4 times a half, and then put them together. 1/4 times the whole is 1/4, right? Anything times 1 is itself. And then 1/4 times a half is 1/8. You got to put those together. The thing about adding fractions that's actually trickier than multiplying is your denominators have to be the same. 1/4 is the same as 2/8. 2/8 plus 1/8. 3/8. Does it make sense that your answer wouldn't even be a whole? 4 quarts would give you a whole gallon. So if you have less than 4 quarts, you're going to have less than a whole gallon. You're going to have a part of a gallon. You're going to have a fraction of a gallon. All right. Let's open up our math module to page 306. And let's do 2 of these together. I'll give you a minute to get that set up. Okay, we're going to be looking at these 2 together here. So C says 4 2/3 feet equals how many inches? 4 2/3 feet equals how many inches? The first question is always, okay, are inches bigger or smaller than feet? Inches are smaller than feet. So we're going to need more of them. So we're multiplying. How many inches are in a foot? 12. Okay, same options here. I like to do the distributive property, multiply each. 12 times 4 wholes gives me 48. 12 groups of 2/3. That would be saying 2/3 12 times. 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, all the way up. That's 24/3. 24/3 is the same as 8. So now I'm putting my 48 and my 8 together. 56 inches. 4 2/3 feet is 56 inches. And let's go over here. 9.5 pints is how many quarts? Quarts are bigger, so we're going to need less of them. So we're going to be dividing 9.5 by something. How many pints are in a quart? The answer is 2. Again, we don't know how to divide fractions and whole numbers yet, but dividing something by 2 is the same as taking half of it. 9.5 times a half. So we can do a half times 9, a half times a half. A half of 9 is 4.5. A half times a half is 1/4. We got to put those together. We can't do that without making common denominators. 4.5 is the same as 4 2/4. Adding that extra fourth, we'd have 4 3/4. Right, 4.5 is the same as 4 2/4. Add the extra fourth, we're at 4 3/4. All right, let's flip the page and do number 2 and 3 together. All right, number 2 says 3 dump trucks are carrying topsoil to a construction site. Truck A carries some pounds, truck B carries some pounds, and truck C carries some pounds. How many tons of topsoil are the 3 trucks carrying altogether? So they're giving us the information in pounds. They want the answer in tons. So we would add these 3 amounts together. And once we get a total number of pounds, we can turn that into tons. 5 8 is 20. Also 20. It's also 20. 9. So we're at 9,000 pounds. So now to give our answer in tons, we want to know 9,000 pounds is the same as how many tons? Tons are bigger, so we're going to need less of them. So we're going to be dividing. How many pounds are in a ton? 2,000. 9,000 divided by 2,000 is 4.5. If you didn't know that, you could of course do the standard algorithm. How many times does 2,000 go into 9,000? 4, which is 8,000. 1,000 left. Add a decimal point and a 0. Bring it down. 2,000 goes into 10,000 5 times, which is 10,000. And let's look at number 3. Melissa buys 3 3/4 gallons of iced tea. Danita buys 7 quarts more than Melissa. Danita doesn't buy 7 quarts. She buys 7 quarts more than Melissa. How much tea do they have all together? Express your answer in quarts. So they want the answer in quarts. So I'm going to turn Melissa's gallons into quarts. So this is Melissa. She's got 3 3/4 gallons, and I'm going to turn that into quarts. Quarts are smaller, so we're going to need more of them. We're multiplying. How many quarts are in a gallon? 4. We're going to do 4 times 3, then 4 times 3/4. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 3/4, that would be 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, and 3/4, which is a total of 12 fourths. We're going to put those together. 12 fourths is 3 wholes. So now I've got to do 12 wholes and 3 wholes. Melissa had 15 quarts. Danita, they told us she had 7 quarts more than Melissa. So if Melissa had 15 quarts and Danita had 7 quarts more than that, Danita has 22 quarts. The question is not how much tea does Danita have, it's how much do they have all together, which means I need to do Melissa plus Danita. Melissa has 15, Danita has 22. They have 37 quarts altogether. So I will put some conversion tips for you if there's any of the ones on there that I think you might not know. Please check the daily lesson plan to see which problems I want you to do now on your own. It's going to be problems from the homework pages. You do not have to do the exit ticket today. Alright guys, if you need to go back and rewatch the video, slow it down, stop it, feel free to do that before you start the homework pages. All right, good luck.